Here I'm going to go over a couple of examples of solving rational equations that involve using the FOIL method and zero product property to solve. So a little bit more complicated than the previous video. But first we're just going to cross multiply, and then after that we need to simplify each side. So on the left we're going to use the FOIL method to multiply. This gives us m squared, 3m, minus 2m, minus 6. And on the right, we just have 3 times 8, which is 24. Now, I'm going to simplify a little further. I'm going to combine my like terms here. And then in order to solve this by factoring and using the zero product property, we need to set it equal to 0. So we need to move this 24 over to the left side. And now we factor. So since there is not a coefficient in front of the m squared, we're just looking for two numbers that multiply to give us the last term, negative 30, and add to give us the middle coefficient, which is just a 1. So what two numbers multiply to give us negative 30 and add to be 1? You can go through some different options and hopefully you realize that it is 6 and 5 give us 30, and which one has to be negative, which one has to be positive, because they have to add to be positive 1. It's going to be negative 5. So this is going to be plus 6 and minus 5. Now to solve this, since this times this equals 0, then that means either m plus 6 equals 0 or m minus 5 equals 0. Because when you multiply two numbers and the answer is 0, one or both of them have to be 0. Then we just solve these two little equations. And these are two answers. M is negative 6 and 5. Let's do one more. The one on the right. Again, we start off by just cross multiplying. And then we simplify each side. So on the left, I'm just going to distribute the y. And on the right, I'm going to distribute the 3. Now remember, with these quadratics, if we want to solve by factoring and using the zero product property, we first need to set it equal to 0. So we need to move this 3y and the 24. You can do that in one step. I'm just going to move one at a time just to make sure it's clear. So if I move the 3y, I subtract 3y from both sides. And then I move that 24 by subtracting 24 from both sides. Now we can factor the left side and use the zero product property to see what y equals. So again, since there isn't a number in front of the square, we're just looking for two numbers that multiply to give us the last term and add to be the middle coefficient. So think about what two numbers multiply to give us negative 24 and add to give us 2. I think of 6 and 4, 8 and 3. 6 and 4 have a difference of 2, so let's try 6 and 4 and think which of these has to be negative so that when we add them, the answer is positive 2. It's going to be negative 4. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. And 6 plus negative 4 is positive 2. And then the last step. If this times this is 0, then that means either y plus 6 is 0 or y minus 4 is 0. Because when you multiply and the answer is 0, one or both of those numbers has to be 0. So you just set up those two equations and you solve them. So y equals negative 6 and y equals 4.